Yo, what's going on, guys? Crispy Flakes here. Welcome to Extra Crispy. For today's video, we got a video by Sporting Labs titled "Say Something Positive About Every NBA Team." So I peeped out the thumbnail and he had the Pistons logo in it. So I clicked on the video. I went down to the comment section and there was like 35 thumbs up saying that Crispy Flakes is going to be mad what he has to say about Luke Kennard. So I got to peep that out. And then also, as a part of that comment, somebody said Crispy Flakes is trash. And I will say, there is one philosophy in my life. I might be trash, but guess what, guys? I'm a garbage can. I'm not a garbage cannot. So, that's okay. Let's go ahead and start this video here, man, and see what Sporting Logic, link to his channel description below, has to say about every NBA team from a positive standpoint.
It's Tucker, and in today's
Hello,
video,
Tucker.
we're going to bring a little bit of positivity here on Christmas Day, whether you celebrate it or not, because some people like to say that I'm a little bit negative at times about a couple of different teams around the league. So I'm going to attempt and obviously succeed at saying something positive about every single
Drama sells, man. Drama sells.
So we're going to do this in alphabetical order. So of course we're going to begin with the Atlanta Hawks, and it's pretty obvious. I like their young core. They've got Trae Young, they've got John Collins, they've got Kevin Huerter when he comes back.
All nice players.
Cam Reddish, even though he's been off to a pretty bad start, and DeAndre Hunter as well. If you're just patient with this team,
I like DeAndre Hunter a lot.
I think they're going to be one of the better teams in the Eastern Conference within the next 4 seasons or so once their guys develop. Next up, the Boston Celtics. I really like their present as well as their future. Their present being the combination of Kemba Walker and Gordon Hayward and Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, but also their future.
Jaylen and Jason is the future.
Both Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Next up, my very own Brooklyn Nets. I like their chances of winning the title in 2021, and this would be my only professional or collegiate sports title in my own lifetime in terms of the teams that I follow the closest, those being the Panthers.
I don't know. I have like this smallest feeling that Durant and Kyrie could end up not being like the greatest fit. Like the chances are they probably are a good fit, but I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
Kind of NC State athletics in terms of both football and basketball, and then the Nets.
Kyrie's a bit more selfish
when KD comes
but then
back,
he can play with
on
Russell.
The
so
they've got all the pieces. Just depends on how well it goes together. Next up, my hometown Charlotte Hornets. I guess I'm not from Charlotte, but I'm from North Carolina, and I really like Devontae Graham. I think he's going to be a borderline all-star caliber player this year, and if he can sustain this level of development and production, he looks like he could be a really good player.
I have nothing positive to say about Charlotte.
Moving on now, the Chicago Bulls, and even though he hasn't had a great season, I really like Lauri Markkanen, and I still also really like Wendell.
My positive thing about the Bulls is that Anthony Davis is from there. And I can see eventually maybe he wants to go and play for his hometown team.
Junior when he's healthy. That combination in the front court are the things that I am most sure about on this Bulls team. On a team with some question marks, I still really like both those players individually as well as the combination of them in the front court. Next up, the Cleveland Cavaliers. I like the fact that they could trade Kevin Love soon. You know, that could definitely
you almost failed the positive challenge.
If they can find a team that wants him. Colin Sexton could be good down the road, I guess, and they should get a high draft pick. That's what we're going to go with. Next up, the Dallas Mavericks. It's Luka, and more Luka. He's going to be a cornerstone player in the NBA for the next 10 to 12 years, assuming he stays healthy and continues to develop. There could not be a better player to push the NBA into a new era. Him alongside Giannis Antetokounmpo in terms of international superstars. Oh,
I thought you meant together on a team.
Such a great thing for the NBA. Next up, the Denver Nuggets. I love their youth still. I talked about this in a recent video, even though they kind of are on everybody's championship radar for this season because they played so well last year. I still really like their youth. All of their core players, for the most part, being under.
They have nice youth. My issue with the Denver Nuggets is that I always get this sense that it's like, man, they're good. They're real good. But are they good enough to compete with some of the other top teams out there when push comes to shove and you're trying to win a championship? That's my only issue with the Denver Nuggets.
25 years old. Next up now, the Detroit Pistons. One of my only bright spots on this team is Luke Kennard. He looks like the player that people thought he was going to be this season once he came out of college. If he continues to develop as a playmaker, he's going to be a really good backcourt and player in the NBA for a long time. Next,
what do y'all think I was mad for? Yeah, that's 100% facts right there. And I'll be honest, I can't think of any other bright spots, like Sekou Demboya, I guess, but like even him, we don't really know what he's going to be. Yeah, Luke Kennard, he's going to be a really good backcourt player. I agree. I'm not angry. Let's continue.
The Golden State Warriors, again, just like the Celtics, I like their present and I like their future. Not so much this season, but next season they're going to be very good.
Hey,
and if they use the draft pick that they're going to get this year on an actual player rather than trading it away, which is what I think they should do, and they actually develop and draft the proper player, they're going to be really good moving forward.
Be James
They'll keep D'Angelo Russell ideally in that future circumstance, and they should be good for the next 10 or so years, really. Next up now, the Houston Rockets. I like the chances of James Harden making some history, I guess, as a positive thing. I like that his chances of breaking any number of records, whether it's, you know, his...
Maybe I guess the thing I like about the Rockets is that, like, Russell Westbrook and James Harden is not, like, as bad as people thought. You know, like, people thought it was just totally not going to work. And I'm not saying it's the perfect fit out there, but it's not like the worst either.
Continued record for attempted threes in a season, attempted free throws, potentially breaking Kobe's 81-point game, which I talked about recently. The potential for James Harden to break NBA records is what I like, if that makes sense. The Indiana Pacers, I like their chances of being a dark horse team in the Eastern Conference playoffs and a potential conference finals
once Depot comes back
this season. When Victor Oladipo comes back, if they have the right pieces around him, if they play the right way, I really like their chances. I think they have a trade to make, and this is a team in the Eastern Conference that a ton of people are not talking about, but could be a real dark horse. Next up, the LA Clippers. I like their chances of winning this season's NBA title better than any team in the entire league. Better than the Lakers, better than the Bucks, better than any team. I think this team, when healthy...
I know Clippers would like a lot more, though, if Paul George and Kawhi Leonard sign some extensions. See if that happens.
Is the best team in the entire league. Moving on now to the LA Lakers, I like their chances of coming out of the Anthony Davis trade as winners because the Lonzo Ball thing in New Orleans is getting kind of weird. Brandon Ingram's been really good, but you don't really know what these picks are going to become down the road, and I'm not anticipating them becoming anything great because there's a ton of motivation for the Lakers to continue to be good while those
they're going to be like
with New Orleans,
late
one,
20s
so they don't
picks.
give up those valuable picks, but two, because they want to keep Anthony Davis happy. So I like their chances of, in the long run, winning the Anthony Davis trade. Next up now, the Memphis Grizzlies. I love their young core. Jaren Jackson Jr. was a player that I was higher on than most other people around YouTube and things like that when he was coming out last year. And then, of course, I love John Morant. Brandon Clark has been probably the steal of the draft most recently. So I love this young core for them. Next up, the Miami Heat. I like their chances of continuing to stay relevant for as long as Eric Spoelstra remains head coach. They've got Jimmy Butler for now. They've got young players that have a proven history of developing players, whether it's Bam Adebayo. I think Tyler Hero is going to be really good down the road. They have pieces. They have flexibility. They have Pat Riley in charge as long as he wants to be.
Kendrick
I
Nunn,
really like their chances of maybe not being a championship caliber team over the next 10 or so years, but I really...
The thing about the Heat is that they're going to be very similar to the Clippers, where, although, I mean, the Clippers were like an 8 seed last year, the Heat are obviously going to be better than that, but where it's like, really good group of guys, Jimmy Butler's great, but they are going to need to eventually be able to get that next piece. And Bam Adebayo, I guess, could eventually develop to be that piece, or maybe even Tyler Hero, but, like, Bradley Beal, I'd love to see them get a guy like Bradley Beal, or, yeah, I'll just tell you guys know what I'm saying, right? Just like that next, like, all-star caliber piece to play with Jimmy.
Really like their chances of being
Jimmy
like a top 5 seed moving forward, barring any kind of huge injuries. Next up, the Milwaukee Bucks. I like their chances of retaining Giannis Antetokounmpo in free agency.
He seems like he's loyal like that.
21 or 22, whichever year he is a free agent. I just don't see a scenario in which this guy ends up leaving Milwaukee. He has a really good connection with Coach Bud. He didn't even want Jason Kidd to be fired initially. I just think he's kind of a different breed of superstar. He's someone that's extremely loyal, and I just don't see him bolting from Milwaukee to go play for like the Knicks or something. Next up now, the Minnesota Timberwolves. I like Karl Anthony Towns' chances of being the best big in the entire NBA for the next 10 or so years.
Wow,
for a while,
that's a bold statement.
Joel Embiid would be that guy,
that's a bold statement.
To see issues with his injuries. I don't want to get on a negative rant here, but I just like Karl Anthony Towns in the long run better than I like Joel Embiid, so I think he's going to be the best big in the league over the next 10 or so years.
Okay,
next
fair
up now,
enough.
the New Orleans Pelicans. I like Brandon Ingram's chances of getting a near max or max contract this offseason. Given the free agency climate, given New Orleans' desire to retain him because they just traded away a franchise-changing player in Anthony Davis to get Brandon Ingram.
Gotta see him play with
Zion. How well he's
Zion.
playing right now, I like his chances of being a max or near max player in free agency. Moving on now to the New York Knicks, and I like RJ Barrett's chances of being an all-star.
I like their cap space in 2021. I think Knicks fans probably agree with that.
In the future, I didn't love his game coming into the league because it looked like he was just kind of a selfish player and could pass the ball but just chose not to. But once they get some better pieces around him, I like his chances of being an all-star potentially while still on his rookie contract. Next up now, the Oklahoma City Thunder. I really like their chances of building a borderline super team within the next like 6 or 7 years.
All in
just
draft
because
picks.
of all of the draft capital and all of the young players that they have now.
Maybe they learn from history and they don't trade away, James Harden and stuff like. I'm not obviously not gonna be James Harden, but They could have had a super team, but they traded the man away. Although maybe James Harden never would became the player he is now if he would have stayed with Kevin Durant and Russell.
Now, and they're going to have moving forward, because I'm imagining they're going to trade guys like Chris Paul, Danilo Gallinari, and Steven Adams. So I really like their chances of being one of the powers in the NBA, assuming they
seem to like those guys
within the next
for whatever reason.
Next up now, the Orlando Magic. I love Jonathan Isaac. If he stays healthy, I think he's going to be the prototypical versatile front court player that can shoot, that can defend, and can continue to grow as a playmaker and as a scorer and as an on-ball player and as an offensive focal point. I don't think he'll ever be like a Kawhi Leonard type player on the offensive end, but I love his potential, and I think he's perfect.
Hey, if he can drop like
15 a game, Philadelphia 76ers. I like their chances of getting to the conference finals this year. And I'm saying that because I don't actually have a ton of positive things to say about them. But the whole point of this video is to be upbeat and positive. So I like their chances of getting to the conference finals. They have this huge lineup. Should be really good defensively once we get to the postseason. Their advantage.
I started the season watching a lot of Philly, but I haven't watched them as of late. Are they not playing very good or something? Like, is there something off about the team?
In terms of on the boards and defensively should start to shine through a little bit more. So I like their chances there. Moving on now, the Phoenix Suns. I really like Monty Williams as coach. I think he's a really good coach for this team. I think he's going to be able to keep them upbeat, keep this team together, because there's definitely talent there.
Yeah, I like their young
Devin
core.
Booker and DeAndre Ayton, obviously. They're not going to be a playoff team this year, in my opinion, but in the long term, I think they've found their coach in Monty Williams, and if they will stick with him, he can be the guy that can actually make this a competitive team in the long run. Moving on now, the Portland Trailblazers. I really like Anthony Simons, and I think the only thing that's going to hold this guy back from being a really good player down the road is just his size. But given Portland's history and reputation in terms of developing guards, if he stays there, I think he's going to kind of take the torch from someone like CJ McConnell at some point and be a really good backcourt player for Portland moving forward. Next up now, the Sacramento Kings. I love De'Aaron Fox, and even though there's some other pieces on this team that I wish would kind of be moved around to kind of better suit his game, I think that this year in terms
I'm pretty much sold that the Kings need to keep Buddy Hield, keep De'Aaron Fox. I like Marvin Bagley, and trade everybody else. Like, I think Harrison Barnes is kind of a stupid signing. Bogdan's cool, but I feel like he's not being best utilized. I feel like you could probably get some good trade value out of him. Ricardo Holmes has been decent enough, but you can find a better spot there too. So, yeah.
Some of his struggles at times are just going to be a bump in the road, and I think he's going to be
might do a Kings rebuild on the main channel, actually, guys. If you want to check that out.
Next up now, the San Antonio Spurs. I really like their young guards. DeJounte Murray has had his struggles returning from injury at times, but he is an incredible defensive player that should continue to grow as a point guard. And then guys like White and Walker and Johnson, there's a ton of different guards to choose from, and I would imagine
young-wise, they're really good.
Are going to end up being pretty.
By the way, I know you Spurs fans were loving this, man. They played the Pistons the other night, and guess what? LaMarcus Aldridge, who I've been, he must watch my videos or something, man. I've been preaching that he starts shooting the 3-ball more. He had a career-high 5 3-pointers against the Pistons, so he must have watched my stuff, and he's like, well, look, Crispy, I got it like that. So, good for you, LaMarcus. Happy for you.
Pretty good players in the league, so I definitely like the Spurs young guards. Next up now, the Toronto Raptors, and I like, obviously, Pascal Siakam. It's pretty simple there. I think that he is similar to Jonathan Isaac, probably about as perfect of a fit in terms of versatility for the modern NBA as you could possibly have at the 4 spot. He certainly has places to improve, needs to get stronger. And if he wants to be like more of a perimeter ball handler type player, then he's got some skills to develop there. But if his development at this point is any indication, he's going to be such a good player over the next 8 or 9 years. So I love Pascal Siakam. Second to last now, we're almost done. The Utah Jazz. I like their chances of turning around what's been a relatively disappointing season to start here and being one of the true contenders in the West.
I could be completely wrong, but I thought he said he was doing alphabetical order, and my alphabet is messed up. Is it alphabetical with the cities or logos? I don't know, man. I got to go back to kindergarten and find out.
Conference still this year, potentially
A, B, C, D, E, F, G
finalist. And this has kind of been a theme for them over the last couple of years. They've always kind of struggled in the beginning of the season just because the schedule was tilted that way, and then picked it up later in the season. I expect this year to be the same.
Yeah, Mitchell was in a slump last year.
I love Rui Hachimura, and I understand that sometimes the numbers are a bit down for him in terms of efficiency at times.
That's all right.
But he looks like he belongs.
He's a rookie learning.
He looks like he has an offensive game that you can continue to grow and build around. And so for me, I think he's a legit, really good player for them moving forward.
Okay, so yeah, a lot of people thought I'd be mad what he say about Luke Kennard. I was in total agreement. Overall, these are all good positive aspects. Very good video. Go check out his channel, guys. Thank you all so much for watching, and peace out, my friends.